It's David Ducker coming back at you, and today I'm going to be talking about the role of the rules. I've done my videos on the role of the player, the role of the GM, what your job is, whoever you are. But let's talk about what role do the rules play. So the rules are there to facilitate role playing. That's it. Good rules make it easier to role play, either in game by making it easy to do the things you want to do, or out of game, before the game, to make it easy to build the character that you want to build, or for the GM to build the people, places, and things that you want to build. Things can also extend to like schools of magic, spells, monsters, as well as the cities, the terrain features, all of that good stuff. So the rules are there to facilitate the play. So any rule that gets in the way of you making what you want to make as fast as possible, and in as much depth and detail as you want, is a bad rule. Okay, so if you've come and you've written this really great character, um, and then you're trying to stat him into the system that you've chosen, and you start hitting roadblocks, that's a problem. The rules are not fulfilling their role in that case. They're not doing their job. So, for example, let's take, I had a character named Balian, named after the famous Balian of Ibelin, of course. Um, so if we took Balian and we statted him into GURPS, GURPS has a huge amount of detail. You can make pretty much any character you want in GURPS, no problem. From Space Marines to Vikings to occultists in the 1920s running around with Aleister Crowley. So GURPS, no problem. Making the character, good rule set. Take the same character, let's make him now in Savage Worlds. Couple problems may arise because Savage Worlds is a little vaguer. GURPS has like 100, at least 100 skills. Savage Worlds has like 20 skills. So losing those 80 potential skills could make the character a little flatter, a little more two-dimensional. Now, Savage Worlds is still a very, very good rule set. So, will the problems actually have any impact on the play? Probably not. Savage Worlds is fine. But now, if you take that same character, and now we move him into Pathfinder, it's like, oh man, like they've only got 20 skills, but also they've got these classes that you have to read through. It's like, well, Balian might not fit into any of those classes. So that's going to be a big problem right off the bat. I can't make this character in Pathfinder. He doesn't fit into any of the classes, let alone that they may be missing skills. Or infamously in Pathfinder, you can't play a very young or very old character. The rule set completely falls apart as soon as you start trying to say, okay, I'm going to bring in a character who's like 80 years old. He's got a lifetime of experience, but he's very frail and fragile. GURPS, no problem. Savage Worlds, no problem. Pathfinder, whoa, enormous problems immediately. It's like, listen, you can't get extra skills without leveling up your class. And as you level up your class, there's certain things that will always improve. Even for a wizard, your fighting skill, which they call base attack bonus, always improves. No matter how little fighting you've done or how little sense it makes that you've done any fighting ever. So the wizard, his fighting bonus just keeps creeping up. Also your fortitude, which is like your health and physical toughness, that continues to improve with just experience in the world, and that doesn't make sense. Your reflexes, how good you are at dodging, jumping, and weaving, that continues to improve. just sitting around, not doing very much. Your willpower, your mental fortitude continues to improve throughout your life. And that's not true. I've known lots of people who, sadly have had like nervous breakdowns and have gotten very mentally fragile and frail and weak. So, and I hate to pick on Pathfinder, uh, but it's so easy to pick on Pathfinder. So, Pathfinder is a bad rule set just because it doesn't facilitate you building your character. And as we said, there's another aspect of the rules, however, and that's in play. So let's keep those three rule sets in mind. So in play, so I've made Balian, however well the system will let me make him. GURPS will let me make him almost perfectly to what I'd imagined. Pathfinder is like, it may kind of resemble the character I had in mind, but probably not. Especially if I wanted to play someone who's, older than 30 or younger than 20. But we've made the character, we're committed, we're in play. So now the second measure of a rule set, the second role of the rules, how well does it facilitate doing things and running around in play, right? So let's say Balian he's a knight. He has he has a warhammer, in fact, like a big two-handed warhammer. Not one of those fantasy warhammers where it's like an anvil on a stick, but just like a big maul. Like it would be like a 5-pound hammer. Which is in combat, that's huge, that's enormous. So he's running around, he's got his maul, he's got some mail armor on, he's got a steel skull cap, fight breaks out. Some other knights involved, they also have mail, they've got shields, they've got swords, they've got, war hammers, bec de corbin, crowbill that is. So the fight breaks out. Okay, GURPS, how well will you facilitate that fight? And GURPS can be a little complicated. It's like roll to hit. They then get to roll to dodge your opponent. Then you get to roll for damage. Now, and then there are several rules attached to that damage. It's like for I believe for piercing weapons, every point above their armor is doubled. So like if you roll 8 to hit and they have 4 armor, 4 damage gets through, but all the damage that gets through is doubled. So you've actually done 8 damage. So it can get very complicated. Picks can get stuck in the guy, flails can entangle, and there can be multiple rules that you need to keep in track, keep in touch with, keep track of, even in the basic rule set. The advanced rules, far beyond that, more complicated. So GURPS doesn't facilitate the combat as well as some systems do. And moving on to Savage Worlds. Now, Savage Worlds is very clear and simple about what you can do. There might be a few extra steps compared to some RPGs, but it's very clear and simple. I'm gonna roll to hit. If I hit, I could roll damage, so I could roll those both at the same time if I wanted to, which would save a lot of time. Wink, wink, hint, hint. But and then if that is scoring some wounds on you, if you're a hero, you can make some vigor tests to resist that. And pretty much no matter what you're doing, sword, spear, axe, pistol, running somebody over with a tank, it's always the same system, the same rule set. There aren't a lot of special rules for special items. There might be a few, but they're really few. There's like 1 or 2. So it facilitates play very well. And not just combat, but of course GURPS or of course Savage Worlds has chase scenes, mass combat, vehicular combat, and they do all of it very well and very simply and very smoothly. GURPS has all of those things, but they're a lot clunkier. They take longer. There's more roles involved. They less frequently follow the core of their rule set. and they have a lot of subsystems. So in that sense, Savage Worlds wins over GURPS, in my opinion, because it's faster and it's simpler, and it gets the rules out of the way so you can role play. Now let's bring Pathfinder into the equation. So with combat, Pathfinder is in some ways simpler than GURPS, because you don't have as many of these special rules about like flails and picks, and rapiers get 1/3 of their skill as a parry instead of 1/2, and just odd things like that. In Pathfinder, it's like you rolled a hit, then you roll damage, and then you usually just deduct it straight from their hit points. So in some ways, it's even simpler than Savage Worlds. You have to keep track of hit points, which can be annoying, and you don't weaken as you get weaker, as you get beat up. You remain like a killing machine to the moment that you die. So I mean, it's not a perfect system, but it often runs faster and smoother and simpler than GURPS. So in terms of the facilitating the at table play, it's right in the same league as GURPS in many ways. Now the problem, of course, with Pathfinder comes in. Well, how can you run a chase scene? Oh, there's no rules for that. How can you run mass combat? Oh, there's no rules for that. What about vehicular combat? And I know it's a medieval setting, but you can still have carriages and carts and chariots, and even just horses can be considered as vehicular combat. If you got two knights, trying to one's trying to move somewhere, he's got to deliver an important message. The other knights come in to stop him. He's got a flail. He's holding onto his saddle. He's fucking whipping the guy with the flail. He's trying to kill him, trying to brand his horse. Pathfinder doesn't necessarily have good rules to deal with that. So in that sense, it falls below Savage Worlds because they just haven't anticipated every scene that you're going to need it for. They don't think you'll need a chase scene ever. They've never seen James Bond. They've never seen Indiana Jones. They don't think anybody chases anybody. So in that sense, it's probably inferior to Savage Worlds, where they've thought of pretty much everything, from dogfights with fighter planes, to I think they've got rules for speedboat chases as well. So which rule set is best? Which facilitates play the best? Which makes your role playing better and speeds up the role playing at the table? It's in character creation, GURPS might be the best. Whatever system is most detailed and allows you the most freedom is going to be best. During play, Savage Worlds might be best. They've thought of everything. They always keep it simple and concise and stick to the same set of mechanics. So in combat, Savage Worlds might be even better than GURPS, or any system that sticks close to the core mechanic, that does not deviate far. So you have fewer things to learn, fewer things to look up. That way you can stay in the scene instead of being out of character and in the rule book. And of course, I'm picking on Pathfinder as often because it's the best known of the worst rule sets, where you can't make the character you want to make. And when you actually want to do something, there's often no rule for it. So again, I hate to pick on Pathfinder because I played it before. I'll play it again. But it does have a lot of limitations. It's great for one-shots, not great for making like actual three-dimensional characters. So that's my ramble and my long example of the role of the rules. The rules make it easier for you to make your character, easier for you to deal with the mechanics of your character in a timely fashion. And beyond that, there is no role for the rules. So let me know what you think in the comments below. What should the rules do for you? What should they do for your game at your table? And what are some of the better rule sets that you've seen, both at making characters and running, facilitating scenes? And what are some of the worst? I'm sorry about that, Pathfinder, but I speak the truth. So I look forward to reading your comments, and until I see you again, good day and good gaming.